For the past year now, I've made my podcast with a company called Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First, it's free. That's right, it doesn't cost you anything to make your own podcast. They have creation tools that allow you to record and edit your own podcast right from the computer or your own phone. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and every other place. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. It's really easy. You'll have your podcast up and running in no time. Go to Anchor. Welcome to Beer in Front. I'm your host, Dave Zalatoris. Every week I'll discuss a beer that maybe we've forgotten along the way while we accumulate check-ins and our badges. Some weeks I'll feature a new beer that has potential to be a classic. Being from Chicago, I'll talk about some local beers I had during the week. I'll add my spin to events of the day, and at the end of the show I'll call out the Jagoffs of the week. This week's beer will be Daisy Cutter from Half Acre. That's Beer in Front, coming up now. Welcome to the second part of episode 51 of Beer in Front. I do thank you again for listening this week. Let's see how this turns out. I'm going to have part 2 of the interview that I had with Rob from the Fat, Drunk, and Stupid show. I'll have that on in just a bit. And then I'll also I'll have another beer in front, and I'm sure I could find a Jagoff somewhere. So, okay, let's kick it off with the interview with Rob from Fat, Drunk, and Stupid. Now, you mentioned earlier, and I've listened to your show, that you're a former, you said Army, correct? Did I get that right? Were you Army?
Yeah, that's right.
Army, you did 2 tours in Iraq?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 03 and 05.
Okay, and then you were also a police officer, and now you're doing something totally different. Would you want to share, your story about that? Because that just, to me, it's like, oh, wow, this is like, guy's led a pretty good life up to now. He's done a lot of stuff.
I have done a lot of stuff. I feel like it's several. I actually was talking to a guy I work with the other day. He just got hired, and we were talking about just what we did before, and I said, yeah, I was in the Army, and then I was a police officer. Now I'm doing this. And he's like, how old are you? Did you start when you were like 12? And I said, no, but it seems like it. But no, I joined the Army after in 2001. Actually, I signed up 2 weeks before 9/11 happened. How's that for
all
timing?
Right.
And
yeah,
but I live in Missouri now, but I'm from a small town of Virginia called Emporia, Virginia, which is in southeast Virginia. It's right off Interstate 95, and it's like blink and you'll miss it kind of place. And after high school, I was working at a brick plant and like shoveling mud 8 hours a day, literally shoveling mud. And I was like, man, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do this the rest of my life. And so I called the recruiter. I went and got the yellow pages, called the recruiter, and I was like, I want to join the Army. And so I did. I joined the Army, and I was in from 01 to 07. Went to Iraq in 03, went to Iraq in 05. And, some of that stuff I share on my podcast, especially some of the mental health stuff, because I've learned a lot about that after I've gotten out. And I feel like the more time I get away from, I've noticed the more time I get away from being in, the more stuff I kind of, I think about, and kind of, a lot of that stuff affects you down the road a little bit more. So that stuff for me is helpful to talk about. Actually, it actually, I think a lot of people podcast for that too, kind of have an outlet. And so yeah, I got out in 07 and needed a job, and I didn't really particularly want to be a police officer, but they were hiring and it had benefits and decent pay. So I did that for 9 years, actually.
All right.
And I did that in my hometown back in Virginia for 7 years. And my wife and I moved here to Missouri. She's from here in Joplin, Missouri. And I worked as a cop here for 2 years and went back to school, finished my degree. I had started that on and off since I got out of the Army, but I went to school here. There's a local university here, Missouri Southern. and got into the IT business, and I've been doing that since
All right.
20 when was that? August of 2015 is when I got out of that. So now I work in programming. So it was a pretty big pretty big flip flop there for career wise, but it's I think it's like anything else. You learn stuff along the way. You learn what you want to do, what you don't want to do, and I've always felt that
Mhm.
it's never too late to make changes and just try to find your way, find something you really enjoy. So
Yeah. Did you notice, like, I mean, you went from, between the military and the police department, you went from something where you had action, almost every day.
mm-hmm.
That seems like a 180 just going into IT, something completely different. Was there a big adjustment period for you doing, changing careers like that?
Yeah, a little bit because it's funny because I always wanted stability, I guess, in
All right.
in in life and in employment. And my when I was a kid, my parents split when I was 2, and I lived with my mom till I was about 13. And it was she just like, we moved around a bunch, and it was just like real just kind of wacky. She lost a bunch of jobs, either through drug issues or whatever. And so I always, for me, I thought, okay, later on when I'm an adult, I don't want to be that way. I want to kind of try to have it figured out. And then as I went along, I did police work for 9 years, and I could have probably stayed in police work, but I just, we, my wife and I were going to have a family because we have a 3-year-old now. She'll be 4 in this year. I just really wanted. I was like, if I can, I want to figure out a way where I'm home at night, home on the weekends, home on the holidays. Because I did that stuff total for like 15 years between military and police of just, either being deployed or being out or working police work, working nights, weekends, and all this kind of stuff. And what's funny is when I started at this, at my former company, my wife says, "All right, now listen, honey, you can't joke around there like you do with the boys at the police department because this is an
Yeah.
office environment." Right? It's a little different. People might get offended,
Yeah.
So I think the first 2 months, I don't think I said a word to anybody. People thought I was like this angry guy. But
Yeah.
no, it was good. It was I kind of it was an adjustment too because I'd always kind of used to being the kind of the younger guy, like at the police departments. I worked for 3
Yeah.
departments, and then I started this company, and I started in the help desk actually, and I have like, it's me and like 3 21-year-olds in there. And I was 34 at the time, I think. So that was weird.
Oh,
That was
you're like Yoda to them. Yeah.
I was, man. And I
Yeah.
would make like 80s movie references, and they would just look at me like I was crazy,
Yeah.
you know. But I was like, man, you guys need to get some culture, I don't know what you guys are talking about. But so part of that too is hard, man. It's like you have to swallow a little bit of pride and kind of
Mhm.
realize, okay, everything I've done in my life, the deployments, the police work, everything it got me to this point, but now I'm in a different world, and I have to kind of accept that and learn something new. That was a big adjustment, having been used to being, I was a team leader in the Army and, led troops in combat, and then in police work,
Mhm.
I did general instructor at the Regional Police Academy and, did a bunch of all this cool stuff. And then you find yourself, in a career switch, and nobody really cares about that kind of stuff anymore. That doesn't really hold a lot of water
No.
because you have to do the current job that you're doing. So it was an adjustment, but it's worked out so far. So
Yeah, and that's good. And like you said, starting a family, I'm assuming, like, when you were in the police department, you probably had rotating shifts, rotating days off. So it's hard to have
yeah.
any continuity with the home life when it's, always something different every, 4, 6 weeks.
Oh
So at
yeah.
least now you're home, and you're home on weekends and holidays and all of that. So that's got to be terrific.
Yeah. It was good. It was good to I enjoyed it. I think, at the time of my life, I was a single guy and I didn't really care. I'd
Yeah.
work and then you know, hang out, drink beer, lift weights, go back to work. Didn't really have much to worry about beyond that. But yeah, it was good. It was police work can be quite a grind, especially with it depends on the department. I mean, I worked at a department that did 2 weeks a day shift and 2 weeks a night shift. It rotated every 2 weeks. And man, that sucks, man. I'd rather just
Yeah.
work all night shift,
Yeah.
just so I
I
don't
mean,
have
you
to.
have no, like, your body clocks are probably all messed up. You don't know when to
Oh,
eat, when to take a dump. You don't
dude,
know anything doing
it's
that.
it's freaking
Yeah.
rough, man. And
Yeah.
then uh, that stuff's kind of weird. I actually worked to get onto a street crimes task force so I could just work all night shift,
Mhm.
because I was like, I don't, this flip flopping back and forth is dumb,
Yeah.
so that stuff definitely wears on you. And, there's some aspects about it I miss, but I don't really miss that kind of stuff. I can tell you, it's nice to be at home, at night and, live the office life, I guess. I think there's a
Yeah.
lot of value in that.
Yeah. I wish I've never, I work for an airline and I've been doing it my whole life. I'm going to
Mhm.
be 54 this year. And, our shifts are like every 3 to 4 months.
Yeah.
So we know. But like even me with the time, I'll have 34 years in with the company in a
Jeez.
couple weeks. I still got lousy days off. I still have Tuesdays and Wednesdays off. I can't even hold,
Yeah.
a normal shift still. So
Yeah.
yeah, I envy you. I wish I could. I don't know if I could ever make that conversion now, not with the economy and the job market, stuff like that. I mean, there's
Yeah.
nowhere I'm going to go and get decent health insurance and get a 9 to 5 weekends off. So I'm kind of stuck. But now I envy you with that, brother. I mean, congrats getting a nice
Thanks.
weekends and holidays off. That's great.
It was, I feel like it was, it was like either now or never kind of,
Hmm.
shit or get off the pot kind of deal when, because I was 9 years in. It's like, well, if you go past 10, might as well just stick around,
Yeah.
do 20, and then maybe go do something else. But,
Now with 9 years, are you vested to get a pension out of that with the 9 years?
yeah, I did. And I rolled it over. They let you
Okay, cool.
roll it over. So I rolled it
All right.
over, which was nice. I had, in Virginia, I had it through the state. They have a state retirement system.
Okay.
So I was there for 7 years, and then I rolled that one over. In Missouri, it wasn't vested. I wasn't there long
All
enough to
right.
get vested, but that wasn't a super big deal. I was pretty excited to get out,
Yeah.
so I was cool with it. Yeah, I've seen some of your pictures of the airport and stuff. And I was like, hey, you must work at the airport or something. So
Yeah.
that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Normally, like a couple days a week, I work in our control tower, and I work early morning, so I'm there at 5:30 in the morning. So
Yeah.
I usually get the good sunrises when I'm up there.
Oh, nice. I've
Mhm.
I've been to Chicago a bunch of times actually.
Mhm.
I have two army buddies that are from there, and
Okay.
actually one of them, his wife is from Woodstock, Illinois.
Okay. Yeah, that's like maybe an hour or
Yeah,
so north. Yeah.
and when I got out in '07, and those guys got out about a year later, and then they're like, hey, let's have a get together up here in Chicago. So you'll find this funny. It was freaking January. I went up there, went up there, and I think it was 2009. I think it was, or maybe 2010. But I flew in, and I flew into Midway actually, and
Mhm.
one of the guys met me there, and we took the train, the Red Line, down to the downtown loop, and we all met up at Miller's Pub, and that was
Oh
like
yeah.
our rendezvous spot. And so for subsequent visits, that's what I would do. I would get on the Red Line, go to downtown loop, meet at Miller's. But that first weekend, and I saw for your congratulations on your 50th episode, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I saw you had some old style, and actually I drank a lot of
Mhm.
old style that weekend.
Yeah.
I never had it before, but we actually ended up at Kingston Mines that night. The
Oh
the
yeah. Okay.
blues
The
place.
reggae place.
Yeah, reggae
Oh, the
blues
blues
place.
place. Yeah.
Well, they had a blues band that night, and I went in there, and they had old style. I think it was like $1 if it was that.
Yeah.
And so I drank a bunch of those, and we had some high spots. We ended up at this Kuma's, I think is what it's called. They do burgers.
Oh yeah. Kuma's Corner.
Kuma's
Yeah.
Corner. So we ended up there, and that place was wild. I'd never seen a place like that before in my life, because I walk in there. I don't know how it is now, but they had like heavy metal playing, and there's like
Yep.
there's like little kids in there eating, and it's just like heavy metal going, and people were just drinking. And I said, man, what kind of place is this? This is crazy. But
And they have like whiskey on tap there. I know they had like Jack Daniels. They might have had Makers, and they
they
have
did.
like three. It's like kegs of whiskey on tap. I'm like, oh god, this could be dangerous.
It was dangerous because they had Woodford Reserve, I think, the night we were there.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of Woodford we got in there, and it was like 5 or 6 of us. It was like me and the 2 Chicago guys. My buddy Casey, who lives in Milwaukee. We've done some episodes together. We also went to Iraq together. So he was there, and it was man, it was a good time. But I've been there. We would get to do these little get-togethers every other year or something like that. And the last time I was there, I actually went there for work 2 years ago. And the company I used to work for, they have a couple places in Chicago, and I met up with one of the other Chicago guys who's actually Ukrainian, but they moved there. They moved there when he was 5 or 6, and his dad was actually an engineer at Chernobyl, and actually got cancer from it and passed away from it. Actually, crazy enough.
Oh wow!
But anyway, he met me. We met at the athletic club and had some drinks, and that place is pretty cool. I never been in there before, but
yeah, I've never been in there. I mean, I know about it, know where it's at, but no, I've never been in there.
It's pretty swanky, I think. Because he himself, he's kind of swanky himself, And it's kind of funny because these guys, they got out of the army, they moved back to Chicago, and they had like these like 1-bedroom apartments, and holes in the wall and stuff like that. Now they're all married with kids, so they moved out to the suburbs. And he's like, "Oh, I barely go into the city anymore." And I was like, "What's wrong with you, man? What happened to you?" So
yeah, it's weird. Yeah, people move out, and I was the same way. I lived in the suburbs for 15, almost 20 years, and it's just like, no, I got to get back. It's too sterile out here. There's nothing to do. You have to drive everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, for me, personally, just my own preference. Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of city life and seeing different people and everything else.
It's weird because it's such a lot of people who aren't used to, here in Joplin, in this whole area. I mean, everybody's spread out. Then you go to Chicago, and it's like everybody's kind of, because I was dating a girl, and I took her there for one of my weekend visits, and she was just kind of, people. I said, "Look, everybody's like in each other's shit here, and I mean, there's no space for anybody." It's a weird contrast if you live in a small town or not a big city like that. Because my buddy and his wife, who's from Woodstock, they lived in this apartment that was above a restaurant or something.
Okay.
And we went there, and my girlfriend at the time, and she thought that was the weirdest thing. She was telling all her friends, his friend lives above a restaurant, and I'm like, well, it's a building, and these buildings, they'll rent it out to whoever wants to use it. If you want to live in it, sure. If you want to cook food in the bottom, go ahead.
I mean, there's a lot of that in the city. Like,
mm-hmm.
There's quite a few places by me. Yeah, like the ground floor is a restaurant, a bar, or whatever, and then right above it's living quarters. So I don't know, if I'd want to live above a bar, it'd be a little loud, but
it would be.
I guess you get used to it. I'm sure the rent's cheap.
Yeah, he showed me. He was working as a building manager and was going to school at. Is it DePaul? Is that in Chicago?
Yeah,
is that right?
Yeah,
okay.
DePaul's in Chicago.
He was going there for his MBA, and his building had a Morton's Steakhouse in the bottom floor.
Nice.
And then I think it was on Wacker Drive. Matter of fact,
okay.
He took me over there and showed it to me, and I was like, "Well, that's pretty cool." But he did that for a couple of years while he was going to school. So it's kind of cool though, and what's cool too is man, me and those guys still talk all the time. We talk all the time. Keep up, stay. We had a get together like 2-3 years ago when a friend of ours passed away that we were in the army with, and we all met in Columbus, Ohio, which is where he was from, where the funeral was.
Okay.
And we're all drinking, and at one point we were talking about SUVs and gas mileage in minivans, and somebody was like, "Man, what the hell happened to us?" Everybody's chewing Nicoderm. Used to they'd be hotboxing Marlboro Reds with a Copenhagen in their mouth, and stuff. So
yeah, that's me. I got my lozenges right here.
Yeah, it's just kind of funny, as you kind of get a little older and that stuff starts to change, but those guys are still the same. They're all still knuckleheads. We're all just older, a little less hair.
Yeah, just like, my crew, there's like 4 of us, and we text each other pretty much every day, and it's never any earth-shattering stuff. It's all just like stupid shit, but we're talking about, sports or beer or whatever. But yeah, it's always good to keep your same crew with you.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Now I'm going to crack open another one here.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that
Since it's
sound.
my podcast, I have to have that sound on there.
Exactly.
Now, you mentioned on yours, like, I think I've noticed it on 3 or 4 different episodes. You're big into cigar smoking. Like, what's your go
Yep.
to, or it's just whatever you find?
So here locally, there's a cigar bar called El Guapos that a good friend
Okay.
of mine named Alex owns.
Mm-hmm.
And so I met him probably 5 years ago, and he had a little tiny place, and he's moved to a bigger place now, and it's really cool. But I kind of will go to him. You know, he has all kinds of stuff, Arturo Fuentes and
Yeah.
some Christophs. One of my favorites is called it's called Leaf by Oscar, and it's wrapped in a tobacco leaf.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really, really good cigar. But I don't know. I like them. I've always liked them. My brother, I have an older brother who got me into pretty much everything that you're not supposed to be into. Whiskey, bourbon, cigars, beer, as older brothers do, as they should. And so yeah, I've always liked them. And I'll go to Alex a lot of times. I'll just call him or text him and say, "Hey, I'm gonna pick up some sticks." He'll put together like a bag of 5 or 10, and I'll smoke them as I go on. But yeah, I love a cigar, man. I love sitting on the patio and having a drink or a beer, having a cigar when the weather's decent, and
Yeah.
playing music or a podcast. That's what I like to do.
Yeah. And it's funny, like, probably my best friend, Ben. We don't do it as much now just because I moved back to the city and stuff. But we've
Mhm.
always said, like, I would go to his backyard. He's got a nice deck. And we go out there, every week, every couple weeks, have a couple beers, have a cigar. And it's just like, we've always said, I don't care who you are, what your beliefs are, your political beliefs, your religious beliefs. If you could just get a couple guys sitting down with a beer and a cigar, you could solve any problem. You'll get it done by
Oh
the
yeah.
end of the night. Doesn't
Mhm.
matter, what you are, what you believe in. You get along over a beer and a cigar.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've always liked that. I've always and like I said earlier, I mean, just hanging out, having a few and talking,
Mm-hmm.
just shooting the breeze, man. That's why I always like to have just like a place to go. Like here I have the patio here, and I got a little mini fridge out there and table and a big cigar ashtray, that kind of stuff. And it's even like, especially during this past year where, you kind of stuck at home, that stuff's important to have somewhere to go,
Yeah.
even if it's just out the back door. Just to have somewhere to go, because I mean I love going to breweries. My wife and I go to a bunch of, actually I'm wearing a brewery t-shirt right now. It's Apple Blossom down in Fayetteville, Arkansas, and
All right.
we love that. And doing that, we miss that kind of stuff, going camping and stuff like that, which we hope to do a lot of that this year. At least that's my plan. That's
Now,
fun too.
did you guys get vaccinated yet? What's going on with that?
Yeah, my wife's getting vaccinated in a couple days,
All right,
and
cool.
and I'm supposed to. I actually called him today. I'm supposed to talk to him on the 15th and get
Mm-hmm.
a appointment set up here in Missouri. For some reason, there's not a lot of vaccine going around, so we kind of had to actually call. My wife has she has an autoimmune disease, so she was able to get in, and then I actually called because I was trying to get one on behalf of her, because we have her, and then we have also our daughter, and then we have her parents who are 70, and they've already
Yeah.
been vaccinated. So that's kind of like our little bubble. They said, "Well, you can call back on the 15th." And I said, "Well," because they had a thing where if you're IT or in financial services, because I work in I do software programming for the banking industry
Okay.
so we're considered critical infrastructure. So the 15th is when they're going to start doing like that group of people, that phase or whatever. They got this big long
Oh,
chart that's confusing, but yeah, so it should be
yeah.
pretty soon, because I'm hoping to get that done, because we're looking at hopefully taking a trip at some point later on in the summer, because we haven't been on vacation in 4 years or something like that. So
Yeah, I know. Like, I was on vacation last week, and it's like, both my wife and I, we, have the same weeks off. And it's like,
yeah,
we haven't really gone anywhere in a year. I
mm-mm.
mean, we just took a road trip one time. We just, drove over to Michigan for a couple days, but
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, we missed, traveling just to go somewhere,
yeah,
just to not have to make your bed, let them sleep in a hotel or something. Yeah.
yeah. And I've been working from home this whole time, and I've never really that's been kind of an adjustment because I never really
Mhm.
did that before. And because the company I work for now, I actually started with them March 23rd last year. I went there the first day, and they gave me my laptop and all my stuff. And I've been working. We've all been at home ever since. So
Mhm.
I kind of get, my wife goes to her office, which is right down the street, but
Mhm.
you know, I'll just tell her, I was like, hey, I'm gonna go drive around for a while. I'll be back in a little bit, just to kind of get out a little bit. I'm
Yeah, like
fortunate though. I mean, I'm not complaining. I'm very fortunate to have a job, so I'm cool with that. But you got to get a
yeah,
break sometimes.
yeah, like my wife, she works from home, and I know it's got to make you stir crazy. Working at the airport, they've never shut us down. I mean, there were layoffs, but I have enough time that I was safe. So I've
Mhm.
been going in the whole time. But yeah, it's like I don't know. I think I would just go absolutely nuts having to sit home
Yeah,
24/7.
yeah. You don't really get a break from. Well, we have we have 3 cats and 2 dogs, so there's always some fun going on.
Yeah.
Going on with them. I said that on my podcast episode that I'd set up a space out here in the garage because if not, I'd be in there. You'd be hearing God knows what going on. But I think it'd be good. I think hopefully as next couple months rolls through, more people get vaccinated. Maybe we'll see have a little more freedom.
Yeah, at least just to get
Hmm.
out. And I mean, you sure people are still going to be, masking up or whatever. And, it is what it is at this point. We've been doing it for years. So if you got to wear a mask every now and then, who
Yeah,
cares? But it'll just be nice just to just get
yeah,
outside. And I know like they're opening up Wrigley Field and Comiskey Park, for like 8,000 fans a game
hmm,
now. So, maybe even catch a ball game this year would be nice just to sit and catch a ball game. Can't wait to do
yeah.
that.
Oh yeah, that's a lot of fun. The last time I went to Milwaukee to see Casey was two two summers ago, and we went to
Okay.
a Brewers game as we usually do when I go up there, and that's just a lot of fun. Seeing a ball game, having a cold beer.
Mhm.
I mean, you can't beat that, man. I don't
Yeah.
think.
No, especially up in Milwaukee, you get a good bratwurst up there too. You're living large up there.
Definitely, yeah. I told him that's the only
Yeah.
reason why I come up here, just to eat sausages and leave.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Next time you come to Chicago, there's a place not too far from me, and they have, you just mentioned beef. They have, it's a
Hmm.
sausage, but it's filled with Italian
Oh
beef.
man,
So, and it has the peppers in there, the Chicago Italian beef, got the spice of the sausage, and it's all just in a link, and it's killer. It's absolutely phenomenal. So, yeah, next time you come to Chicago, I'll have
oh
to hook
yeah,
you up with some of
definitely.
those.
I've told people too. I was like, man, up in that area, like Chicago and all that, man, the food is like it's a different gear.
Mhm.
It's a different level. I can't even explain it.
Mhm. Well, wrapping up, getting close to the end here, like one segment of mine that I always have towards the end of the show is somebody that's just pissed me off during the week. You're people doing, you're a hypocrite. You say one thing, you do another. They're just a jag off. So, is there anyone that has crossed your path or any news that you've seen in the last week or so that you want to call
Well,
out?
I think you'll like this, and I have to get some clarification first because you're the keeper of the Jagoff, and I don't want to. So, what if it's a more than one person? Is that allowed?
Oh, you could plural. They could be jag offs. That's fine.
The Jagoffs are I would say, the congressional Republicans who didn't vote for the COVID relief bill and who'd rather
Mhm.
complain about Dr. Seuss and all this other garbage that's going on.
Yeah.
What a bunch of jagoffs, man. I mean, come on. You're supposed to,
And these are books that no one ever heard about. It's not like it's The Cat in the Hat
right.
or The Grinch. It's
Yeah.
books that no one's ever even heard of. And the publisher did it. I know you see people like blaming Biden. Biden had nothing to do
Nah.
with this. I mean, I've called out Biden before, but on this, it wasn't his call. It was the
Yeah.
publisher.
And, the people got bent out of shape about the Mr. Potato Head thing. And then they got bent out of shape about the
Mhm.
Dr. Seuss thing. And now the Pepe Le Pew thing is coming up, right? And it's,
Yeah.
I'm always looking at this stuff and I'm like, we got a lot more serious junk going on in this country. But I think that kind of stuff keeps people distracted,
Yeah.
and it's just so goofy. And I read about all of them voting against the COVID relief bill, and I've always said, look, it doesn't matter if they got a R or D by their name. If they're not doing
Mhm.
right by the people, they need to go. Period. And
Yeah.
it's just That kind of stuff's ridiculous. So those are my collective jagoffs of the week.
Oh, excellent, excellent. Well, I'll make sure I won't include them this week. I'll give you the full spotlight for that one. All right, Rob, well, I do appreciate so much you coming on. Once again, you need to listen to his podcast. Now, I follow him on Apple Podcasts, but I know you're on Spotify. I'm sure you're on Google and everywhere
Pretty
else.
sure, yeah.
It's the Fat, Drunk, and Stupid podcast. Well worth listening. I always learn something new every time, it comes on, which for me, that's why I listen. I want to, be entertained, but I want to learn. And there's always something that I will learn listening to Rob's show. So please check him out. It's Fat, Drunk, and Stupid. Rob, anything else you want to share?
That's it, man. I really appreciate you having me hang out, man. I love your show. I've always, like I said, I first caught up with you on Twitter, and I was like, oh, yeah, I saw the logo. I like your logo a lot. That's what kind of brought me in.
Oh, okay.
And then,
yeah, once we're done, I'll get your address. I'll shoot you out some stickers and stuff.
Sweet.
I just had some new stuff printed up.
So I like it. I like your show, man. I like what you do. I like it's I like shows that are simple, which that's not an insult by any means, because I try to keep my shows, but it's like you get to the point and you do your thing, and that's cool. It's not a lot of pomp and circumstance and that kind of stuff going on, because I try to keep mine simple, because I feel like the more moving parts, the more I'm probably going to screw something up. So I just hit go and just start talking. So.
All right. Well, I do thank you so much again. And I'll let everyone know we're going to set things up for the next week or so. I'm going to go on Rob's show. So when that drops, I'll let everyone who listens to my show know as well. But no, definitely follow him on Twitter at FDS Podcast, Fat, Drunk, and Stupid. Rob, thanks so much, sir. Man. All right, I want to thank again Rob from the Fat, Drunk, and Stupid podcast. That was a good chat. I'm looking forward to going on his show in the next week or so. Now, I'm going to have the beer in front tonight. It's going to be a little bit different. I'm having a growler of Daisy Cutter from Half Acre, so I don't get the popping sound of the can. So I know I'm a little thrown off tonight, but I have a growler of Daisy Cutter that I picked up, and Daisy Cutter is a terrific pale ale. It's something that, you might forget about. There's so many other things, and especially from Half Acre, they're releasing new beers, it seems like every week, every other week. But Daisy Cutter's been around since 2009 and looks great. Has a nice, little bit of a reddish color, but looks like a little redder than your normal pale ale. Terrific aroma. The taste on this is spectacular. Yeah, that's great. I get a little bit of like a biscuity malt to this. The hops are terrific. I'm trying to think about it here as I'm drinking this. It's got a little bit of a pine to it. Everything about it's just a classic pale ale. This is really good. You should definitely pick up Daisy Cutter. And like I said, I grabbed this one in a growler. Usually I have a can or a bottle in front of me to look at while I'm talking about it, but I believe this one's around 5% ABV. I could be wrong, give or take a little bit, but it feels like it's right around 5. Classic American pale ale. You can't go wrong with this. This taste is fresh now as it does when it came out in 2009. Usually I get this in cans, so it's a little bit different on draft out of a growler, but no, it's a great pale ale. If you haven't had this one in a while, try Daisy Cutter again. It's going to be an abbreviated jag-off of the week since I just had an episode out just 2 nights ago. So the jag-off of the week is going to be our former president, Donald Trump. Now, he's calling for Herschel Walker to run for Senate in Georgia. There's a couple things wrong with this. One, Herschel Walker lives in Texas in a mansion. Now, that doesn't mean anything. He could be like that jagoff Josh Hawley who lives in Virginia, and I think his sister-in-law has a place in Missouri, and that's how he runs for Senate there. But yeah, so that doesn't matter where Herschel Walker lives. But the other thing is the 2 senators in Georgia were just elected. Remember that, Donnie? So The United States Senate term is 6 years, so why are you calling for Herschel Walker to run now? No one's going to remember this in 6 years. So, Donald Trump, it's been a couple months since I've called you one, but you're a jagoff. All right, that's going to wrap things up for part 2 of my interview with Rob from Fat, Drunk, and Stupid. So I do thank you again for listening. Let me know what you think of this new format where I have the first part of the interview on the main show, and then a day or two later I put the rest of the interview out. Let me know what your thoughts are on that. And don't forget, I'm looking for you to run the podcast in a couple of weeks. So if there's a beer in front you want to talk about, limit it to 3 minutes and send it to me at Dave@BeerInFront, and I'll have it on the show at the end of March. All right, everyone, I'll talk to you next week, where I'm going to feature a great interview with the Beard Al podcast. Have a good week.